So if you guys didn't know, at one point in my young life, I was actually a manager at McDonald's. But I do know a lot about McDonald's Chicken Nuggets, actually. So let's watch this together and let's see what sort of information's in here, and we'll try to have a good conversation around it.
You know that Chicken McNuggets come in 4 shapes: the boot, the bell, the bow tie, and the ball. Yeah, shapes aren't random. You'll see these 4 shapes over and over again in every box the world over.
Did know that.
McDonald's has standardized them to, quote, ensure consistent cooking time for food safety. Weird fact, by the way, the boot overwhelmingly tends to be people's favorites in the polls about this sort of thing. But despite
Because it's like the most recognizable shape. The other ones just look like blobs to most people, right? The boot is the only one that actually looks like a shape that most people could identify. So it wouldn't be a surprise that that's the one everybody picked.
the 4 different shapes, there's one thing that they all share: a history of deep-fried lies. Hope you're hungry, friends. This one is gonna be spicier than that limited edition Szechuan sauce.
Have you guys ever had the Szechuan sauce? I've never had the Szechuan sauce. I just never tried it, and I kind of wish I would have now that it's went away. You'd never had it either? I'd never had it.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Food Theory.
Like, for me, the only sauce that existed when I used to eat chicken nuggets that, like, was in my mind was I always got honey. Not honey mustard, actual honey. You could get, like, actual honey packets, and I would dip my McDonald's nuggets in honey. And that was the only sauce I would eat with them. And then over time, I was like, okay, we'll do the barbecue. But it was always like honey or nothing.
The show that brings the num-nums straight to your tum-tums. And today's num-num is the delectable yet questionable Chicken McNugget, a food item that honestly I thought I'd overgrown as I approached my adult years, but now that I have a 3-year-old, it's a food item that's forcibly reinserted itself back into my life and my diet. These things keep pulling me back in.
I don't have a 3-year-old, and I still like nuggets. I mean, give me the spicy nuggets any day, but I mean, if I want something quick and easy, nuggets are definitely an easy go-to.
Wish I knew how to quit you. Why don't you just let me be, huh?
Let's face it, at this point in my life, I eat more of these things than a 6-year-old after soccer practice. For most of us,
He eats more nuggets, or he eats 6-year-olds after soccer practice? I'm confused.
Chicken McNugget has
I feel like they could have put a pause there to help clarify that.
been a staple throughout our entire lives. I'm sure almost
I don't think he eats 6-year-olds. Maybe he does.
all of us have at least one fond memory of going to McDonald's and getting that McNugget Happy Meal. I mean, some nugs and a toy? Can life get any better? According to sources, yes. Yes, it can. But what I want to chew on today...
Is it bad that I don't have any memories from, like, my early adolescence, like, at all? I have no memories as, like, from a kid. Realistically, none. I have things that I think are memories, but I don't have an actual quantifiable memory that I can sit down and go, yeah, I remember that. I barely have memories from, like, a week ago.
Isn't the crispy golden crust on the outside of these things, it's the conspiracy that lies buried in the middle. You see, the origin of the chicken nugget is anything but golden. A domino of lies that gave rise to the world's favorite poultry-based snack. If you've watched this channel before, you know that what we eat and how we eat it has more to do with advertising, PR, and legal maneuvers than it has to do with your taste buds. And the creation of the Chicken McNugget
That's true, though. Like, advertising influences everything you do.
is a prime example. The chicken nugget was first tested at McDonald's in 1980, but it wasn't because Ray Kroc wanted to expand his diner's palates. It was because he was practically being forced to by the entire industry of American media.
How you doing, D-Man? How you doing, Demon Love? You having a good day?
In the end, these little golden rounds are the product of 4 major lies, and no amount of sweet and sour sauce is gonna make this one taste any better. So that, my friend,
Still saying honey over everything else.
is our journey today, exposing the 4 mistruths that prove our love of chicken nuggets is a lot more conspiracy than coincidence. But in order to understand what
Your day's okay? What's going on? Danny, thank you very much for the resub. I appreciate you. How you doing today, Danny?
what's going on, we're all gonna need to become chicken nugget historians, so let's rewind all the way back to the caveman
Was he a chicken nugget historian or a chicken nugget lawyer? That looked like a powdered wig for lawyers.
days. You know, before the existence of the dollar menu. Back in the 1950s and 60s.
Does the dollar menu even exist anymore? Like, I don't even know that the dollar menu even exists anymore. Like, I feel like there's nothing you can get for $1 anymore. Just made for your first time mob spawner. How'd that go? What is that? I don't even know what that is, Demon. The value menu. I was like, I don't think there's a dollar menu anymore.
So this is 30 years before the iconic boot-shaped nuggets started appearing on the McDonald's menu. A man by the name of Ansel
Thank you for that escalator.
Keys was starting to establish himself as one of the most famous nutrition scientists in the world. His reputation had started to take off after working for the US military to develop K-rations, a daily package of food for paratroopers that provided 3,200 calories.
Ah, I gotcha. So is like Minecraft becoming a thing again? It only messed up in one spot. A lot of hours and stress, but you got it up and running. What kind of mob was it? Just like generic spawner? Or what were you trying to get spawned in?
Calories a day and was rated as better than nothing by test groups. Shortly after, he began gathering data on the health and diets of different populations to try and find the relationship between the food certain cultures eat and the illnesses that they exhibit, with a particular emphasis on heart disease. One of his first and most famous discoveries came from corporate.
Apparently you can just get it to spawn all mobs. Not any specific. Yeah, like if you build like a dark room high enough up, and then they'll just like, you can just like water them off, and they'll just like fall off into the middle and just drop down. You can get like spiders and creepers and skellies and all sorts of stuff, right? And then they hit the ground and just die. Fell off of it 3 times. Well, that's not good. Did you die? It was very high up. I mean, it almost needs to be high up to be able to kill everything when it walks off, right? Did you have your elytra?
Executives living in Minnesota. He saw that they were dying of heart disease at much higher rates despite being some of the best fed people in the world. On the other end, over in post-World War II Europe, despite reduced food supplies, cardiovascular disease rates had decreased sharply. This led.
It was like without elytra. Did you at least have a bucket of water or like a hay bale or anything? Did you have anything to save your ass when you fell?
Keys to determine that diet was actually a big factor with heart health. Eventually, he concluded that the high in milk, high in red meat diet of the Minnesota businessman resulted in heightened cholesterol levels and ultimately heightened risk of death by heart disease. From there, he turned his attention globally. He noticed that, of anywhere in the world, southern Italy had the highest concentration of centenarians, people living to be 100. He hypothesized that their longevity had to do with the low cholesterol foods that they would eat. As such, he started preaching the good word of a low meat diet that was high in grains and olive oils.
Interesting. That height either. Nah, the best part is like doing the bucket save. Like the best part is like jumping off of something so ridiculously high and saving yourself before you hit the ground by just dropping water at your feet. Like the speedrunner strat. Like once you get that down, that is so satisfying to do.
Something that he would eventually brand as the Mediterranean diet. Eventually, he would launch the famous 7 countries study, a longitudinal study, which means it was a long one, where he followed 12,763 males across 7 different countries over the course of 50 years, all in an effort to see how diets affect
Minecraft. Like when you're playing Minecraft and you jump off of something high, just like throwing a bucket of water, or fuck, even a bucket of lava at your feet just to keep you alive so you don't die from like big jumps is awesome. Didn't expect Minecraft talk here. I used to play a lot of Minecraft. I really enjoy Minecraft. I think Minecraft is a great game overall. Love being afraid of heights and falling. Yeah. Dude, it'll make your stomach like go through your throat.
Heart health. Time and time again, his work would come back to one thing: cholesterol.
I haven't played Minecraft in a while.
High cholesterol was causing heart disease and killing people. Ansel's findings, especially that initial Minnesota study, had a massive, and I mean a massive, impact on the US government's views about cholesterol and heart disease. Suddenly, there were these major PR campaigns all against anything with fat and cholesterol. So, yay, right? People are starting to get healthier. They're learning about the dangers of cholesterol. Sign me up for my diet of bread and shots of olive oil, right? Well, herein comes lie number 1. Ansel didn't have the full picture and covered up any results that suggested his lack of knowledge.
So he did what everybody else in the world does. did speedruns last year. It's rough, dude. It can be really, really tough. But the game overall is fun because there's so much you can do with it.
You see, by 1968, he was already famous, and he performed the Minnesota Coronary Study, where he tried to replace highly saturated fat diets with diets that would lower people's total cholesterol. His hypothesis was that by lowering people's cholesterol, he would stop them from getting heart disease. Unfortunately, this study failed. It concluded that, quote, replacement of saturated fat in the diet effectively lowers serum cholesterol, but does not translate to a lower risk of death from coronary heart disease. In short,
That's interesting.
the patients in the study had lower cholesterol, sure, but they were still dying of heart diseases at the same rates. This study would go mysteriously unpublished. Can't imagine why he wouldn't publish research that directly disproved his entire professional platform. Must have gotten lost on his desk or something. Honestly, we only know about the existence of the study because the results were discovered in 2013, over 50 years later. Turns out,
It's so funny how, like, the smartest and the best people in the world just know how to get around shit.
He's had discovered cholesterol, but he had no idea about the differences between good and bad cholesterol, and he didn't want to telegraph that out into the world. He also wasn't taking into account other lifestyle factors, like the fact that the Minnesota corporate executives were sedentary.
Thank you very, very, very much for the support, CJ. Enjoy your raid. Get that gear. Thank you very much for bringing your awesome community in. Thank you very much for the support, friend. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't take into account, like, that was one thing I noticed, even for me, even though I wasn't an executive, right? I was just like middle management. My lifestyle was pretty much 100% like just sit around for meetings and sit around and do everything. So I like never got up and did anything, and because I was working so much and I didn't have kids, I didn't get up and exercise by running around with my kids. So I just went to work and I sat, and I came home and I sat, and I went to work and sat, and came home and sat, and realized that it was wreaking absolute havoc on my body, way more than my diet.
Drank heavily and were almost all smokers, all of which have been shown to cause heart disease. Science is kind of tricky that way. It's almost like sharing all of the information both for and against your hypothesis is important for the education of the masses, but nah, screw that. I've got a brand to maintain. And by that point, it was just too late. The wheels of advertising against the enemy of cholesterol were already in motion, and beef was public enemy number one, and was put in that position by liar number two, big tobacco. You see, another major
Yeah, I can see that. Tobacco wanted to point the finger at everything but it.
contributor to heart disease, smoking was surging in popularity all through the 50s, with nearly 10 cigarettes sold per adult per day. And
that is almost unbelievable at this point. You know what I mean? Like, you would not believe that. I wouldn't have believed that. If you told me that happened today, I'd be like, you're full of shit. I know, that is like literally so much. It's almost unbelievable. You can get away with a bad diet if you're active, but not if you're inactive. That's the thing, Ern. Like, when I was working the way I was, my diet wasn't really that bad. I was drinking quite a bit. But I think what really made me feel the worst was the fact that I literally did nothing. And if you literally sit all day, you're not forcing any blood flow, you're not doing anything, your circulation gets poor, and you're at a huge risk to die early. So that's why here recently, since I started like working from home and streaming, and then after the first year we bought a treadmill, like I try to get up at least once, if not twice a day, and do 20 to 40 minutes of just moving on the treadmill and just getting up. It's not a lot, but it's better than literally just sitting in my chair nonstop. And I can tell how much better I feel just from doing that.
Was known at the time that smoking was a major cause of heart disease. Kind of. You see, beginning in 1948, the Framingham study became the first major piece of science to show that cigarette smoking was a major risk factor for a whole myriad of health problems, including, of course, heart disease. But big tobacco...
They have treadmills for your desk, so you can walk and game at the same time, but I would need a standing desk. And I'm sure you guys have all seen my setup. But my setup requires a lot of effort to move up and down, and I don't have the $1,000 to buy the standing desk adaptation that I need to be able to move my desk up and down right now. Maybe if the channel continues to do better, I'll be able to, but as it stands right now, there's absolutely no fucking way I could afford to do that.
Fought it off. The Council for Tobacco Research funded counter studies for over a decade to cast doubt on the results and shift blame to other causes. So by the time Ansel...
That is part of what we call having your own set of facts. And unfortunately, there's only one set of facts. And just like pushing things around to make sure your stuff looks the best while omitting other things is still lying.
Keys started attacking beef, tobacco companies were already well practiced at shifting blame to other places. The less centralized beef industry didn't have the sophistication or the lobbying power that the tobacco companies had to fight their reputation for being unhealthy, so cigarette consumption kept going.
I'm sorry, but seeing like all those white men stand there in their business suits with their hands up, swearing not to lie, to me, as soon as I see that, I'm like, every last one of those fuckers is gonna lie. Every last person standing up there is gonna lie. No matter what they tell you, it's a fucking lie.
Going up while beef consumption went down. Not because of science, but because of publicity. And as you might imagine, this didn't bode too well for McDonald's in the 1960s. At the time, it just had over 1,000 restaurants in operation and basically 2 things on the menu: burger and fries. Cholesterol with a side of fat. The beef industry was already starting to feel the US's shift away from cow and towards the lower cholesterol alternatives of chicken and turkey, but in 1977, the pressure got turned up even more. The US published what's now considered a controversial nutrition guideline all about cutting fat out of everyone's diet and realigning to this old friend, the food pyramid. In recent years, it's been revealed that the food pyramid was actually...
Is it lying if you just withhold information? I mean, no, but you're also assuming that your audience is going to do the due diligence and look things up, or at least make themselves well informed. And anytime you assume people are going to do things on their own, you're being an idiot. Or you just know they're not going to, and you're using that to your advantage. Do you know what I mean? Because people are fucking inherently lazy. And if you look like you're telling somebody the truth, more than likely they're just going to fucking believe you because they can't be bothered to go through the effort of figuring out if it's actually fact.
Highly misleading. A theory for another day to be sure, but at the time, this was the guidance that everyone followed.
I remember the food pyramid. I remember learning the food pyramid as a kid. Way back on my stone tablet with my chisel.
It had a huge impact on the food market, which was now being strongly forced to shift to white meat chicken as the alternative protein to fatty beef. And looking back at McDonald's, they're over here for the last decade like Jordan Peele, sweating profusely trying to figure out what to do. So, how about lie number 3, steal someone's recipe? In 1963, a man named Robert Baker came up with a recipe for a little something called the chicken stick. Yeah, it's not a very appealing sounding name, but that's because the dude was a scientist and not some sort of marketing genius. Robert Baker was a professor
Chicken
of
stick.
poultry science. Yep.
What? Is that a thing? You can be a scientist of poultry science?
Real thing from Cornell University and is responsible for more than 40 different poultry products ranging from chicken nuggets.
That right there just made me cast doubt on all of the things that Cornell teaches people. Stone tablet, you think you had papyrus? At least you had fucking papyrus, you know what I mean, Solbrand? I had fucking rock, and I was happy. The problem was the stone chisel didn't work very well on the stone, so it could get kind of dicey at times.
Gets to turkey burgers. This guy was so prolific when it came to cooking bird
I really doubt Cornell's ability to like educate people right now.
meat that he was inducted into the American Poultry Hall of Fame. Also apparently a real thing.
Should not be a thing.
God bless you,
And if it is, you should not have humans in a poultry hall of fame.
Robert Baker. He didn't patent his chicken sticks right away, so McDonald's was able to sweep in and take credit for his invention.
You had TI-83, played Dope Wars on in school. Dude, I remember that. I remember that a little bit. Stone tablet. You just had fingers in dirt. Get fucked when it rains. Oh, I'm sure. And then you rub your fingers raw, and I feel bad for you. At least I had stone. You know what I mean, Psycho? At least I had stone.
Including his whole method for making them. The method involves taking finely chopped white meat chicken, skin and spices, as well as maybe some breading to bind it, grinding it up into a regular consistency, breading it twice, then flash freezing it to bind everything together real well. At the time of cooking, it's deep
Mud was better to ride in. I will agree. Mud is easier to ride in.
fried in fat directly out of the freezer and served. Thus, the Chicken McNugget was born, and with it, McDonald's finally had on its menu a healthier, lower cholesterol alternative to burgers. Right? Right? Wrong on so many levels. So wrong that it's actually line number 4. While McDonald's absolutely met the letter of what the media was pushing towards, serving lean white meat chicken in their restaurants, they managed to skirt around the intention of creating a healthier alternative to hamburgers. Let's just compare the nutrition facts of McDonald's hamburger to a McDonald's 6-piece chicken McNugget, which both, conveniently enough, have the same calorie count, 250 calories.
That's interesting that they have the exact same calorie count.
Thereby making this a fair comparison. Total fat in the burger, 9 grams. Total fat in the nuggets, 15. Total saturated fat in the burger, 3.5 grams versus the nuggets, 2.5 grams, which I guess is 1 gram win for upending the entire American beef industry. But let's look at the thing that drove this whole controversy in the first place,
What's cholesterol?
McDonald's hamburger, 30 milligrams. McDonald's chicken McNuggets, 40. A hamburger actually has 25% less cholesterol than the nuggets, even though the entire invention of the nugget was driven by America's obsession with lowering their cholesterol in the 1970s.
That's hilarious. And it's all in the marketing, right? Like, there's no, like, little thing down there that says, like, a disclaimer or anything. They were just like, hey, this is healthier. Okay.
McDonald's effectively made a less healthy alternative to a hamburger in response to the public's demand for a healthier alternative to the hamburger. And they 100% got away with it. I mean, there's a reason chicken nuggets are a mainstay of McDonald's menus around the world. These things are delicious. And the reason they're really delicious is maybe because they're kind of bad for you.
That's normally the way it goes with food. If the food is fucking bad for you, it's gonna taste so good. That's just the way things work.
All that said, if you think this episode is me putting on a poor beef moment, or that I'm a secret member of Big Beef, which ironically has adopted some of Big Tobacco's old playbook in recent years, I'm
Is there a big beef?
not. I do love a great steak as much as the next guy, but my New Year's resolution is to eat healthier, just like the next guy. In researching for healthy lifestyle choices in 2022, I did find out something in a fun twist. Ansel Keys, he might have been onto something. He did, in fact, live to be 100, so minus the completely unethical cover-up of his research, there's evidence that the Mediterranean
Just had some nuggies yesterday, and yes, big beef exists. I didn't even know that big beef was a thing. Dude, I do love me some nuggies, though. Like, give me some spicy nuggies any day.
diet is a good one for lots of other reasons. Just, you know, not preventing heart attacks. And even though we know that the Mediterranean diet isn't the end-all be-all of nutrition solutions, it doesn't mean that beef is off the chopping block either. The World Health Organization recently declared red meat as a carcinogen, you know, something that causes cancer. And there
Why is it that everything causes cancer? Like, you can't even live in the state of California. Just being outside causes cancer in California.
there's been a big emphasis on its potential
I'm sure beef is not, I don't know.
environmental concerns as well, so there's plenty still left here to debate. All that said,
It's the process of making beef, not the beef itself.
whatever your path to health may be in 2022, remember that the food you're choosing is often dictated by the advertising that you see, not the rigorous scientific studies that we're all clearly reading.
Everything is, all right, so as a consumer, right? So this is what this is going to boil down to, is just like a general sort of like way to finish up the video. Everything as a consumer boils down to absolutely amazing advertising and word of mouth. Those are the two things that are going to influence you the most when it comes to purchasing any product. If people around you that you know and trust tell you that the product is good, tastes good, works well, and how well their advertising sort of loops you into making you want it. So there were a lot of things about the McDonald's Chicken Nuggets, but ultimately what this video said was they were more unhealthy, yet more people bought into the fact that they were, you know what I mean, sort of the healthy alternative, and all the lies that went into it. I thought it was a fun, interesting video. What'd you guys think, though? Definitely let me know down in the comments. Let me know what your favorite chicken nugget shape is and what you think of the topic at hand, and if you have switched to a healthier sort of lifestyle and more of a chicken diet, or if you're still hardcore red meat. And as always, have a great day.